Every year we get to see a ton of new blockbuster movies, and with all of the time, effort, and money behind these flicks, it's somewhat surprising how many mistakes end up slipping in. We've got a great list of mistakes for you, and be sure to stick around to the end to find out about some bonus mistakes that our friends over at Screen Rant were able to find. For now, here are 10 movie mistakes even the biggest movies can't hide. Enjoy the video and be sure to hit the subscribe button to get brand new videos from the richest every single day. Suicide Squad. While some people may consider the whole movie one big mistake, there are actually some moments where slip-ups were very visible. In the movie, its internal signs identify the subway station as Central Station. But when we get a look at the same station from the outside, we can see a sign for Bay Street Station. Bay Street Station is actually in Toronto, Canada, where a large portion of the movie was filmed. It looks like the crew forgot to cover up the sign, and the result is this movie goof. Captain America: Civil War. Captain America: Civil War is a fantastic superhero movie, but even the best big-budget blockbusters make some silly mistakes. When the two sides are setting up to face off at the airport, Spider-Man surprises Cap by yanking his shield away from him. The shield is visibly covered in webbing, but a few shots later, it seems like all of it has disappeared and the shield is spotless. Once you've noticed this continuity error, it's hard not to catch it every time. The Wolf of Wall Street. In a famously steamy scene from The Wolf of Wall Street, Margot Robbie's character Naomi is using her sexuality to toy with her husband, Jordan, played by Leo DiCaprio. Robbie opens her legs up seductively and tells Jordan she's not wearing panties. But the problem is, she is totally wearing some, as they can be seen in the shots right after. We can understand why the actress wouldn't want to go full frontal, but the filmmakers could have left a little more mystery in the scene to really drive fans wild. Star Wars: The Force Awakens. The world collectively freaked out when they found out that the galaxy far, far away would be returning with 2015's Star Wars: The Force Awakens. The movie is awesome, but it isn't without its mistakes. When Rey rescues the adorable droid BB-8, it can be clearly seen that the top part of Rey's outfit is crisscrossed from her right side over her left. But just a few seconds later, we can see that it is crisscrossed from her left side over the right. Rey's outfit continues to switch back and forth, and it becomes very clear that this scene was shot multiple times. Finding Dory. One of the best parts of making an animated movie is that you don't have to worry about the actors making mistakes and ruining takes. Unfortunately for Finding Dory, it seems like the writers can also make mistakes that sneak their way into the film. In the movie, there is a whale shark who keeps bumping into nearby things, claiming she is nearsighted.
She's extremely nearsighted and has trouble navigating her environment.
While this may be funny, it's also wrong. She's actually farsighted. Nearsighted would indicate that she can see nearby objects only and probably wouldn't be bumping into them all the time. It's just a small slip up, and we're guessing the kids in the theaters probably didn't catch it. Jurassic World. Jurassic World gave audiences a lot of amazing things to look at in their film, so we can understand if this continuity mistake slipped right past you. In a scene where we see the brothers exiting the lake they dove in, their wet hairstyles change in every single angle. We're not kidding. In just 3 seconds, the boy's hair changes 5 whole times. While we doubt many people were looking at wet hairstyles while there were T-Rexes to marvel at, it's still a fun slip-up that's definitely worth a look. Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice. While critics of this movie may tell you there were tons of mistakes from this movie, a lot of those are probably subjective and up for debate. That being said, there are some mistakes from Batman vs. Superman that no one can really argue for. After Superman and Doomsday kill each other, spoiler, Superman is lying in Doomsday's hand with his eyes wide open. A few shots later, Batman walks over to his body, but when he gets there, Superman's eyes are closed. We've decided we're actually okay with this mistake, as a lifeless Superman staring directly into our souls is something we would rather not see. The Dark Knight. A lot of people will tell you that 2008 The Dark Knight is their favorite superhero movie of all time, and with the incredible Joker performance by Heath Ledger front and center, it's easy to understand why. As great as this movie is, it still has its fair share of mistakes, and one of them is worse than the rest. During Batman's interrogation of the Joker, when he picks him up and slams him against the wall, you can actually catch a glimpse of a camera and cameraman in the background. This is a major no-no in the film industry, and it's quite surprising that it made it into the final cut. Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy is Marvel's little movie that could, as it totally stunned fans with how surprisingly awesome it was. Chris Pratt may be great as Peter Quill, aka Star-Lord, but even he can't fix the mistake we caught in this film. In a scene where Quill is reading a note from his mother, we hear a voiceover of what is written on the page. Except, we don't. And if you look closely at the note and listen to what's being said, they don't match. We're guessing the lines were changed after the scene was already shot, and the director was just hoping no one would notice. Deadpool. With its bloody violence and risque R-rated comedy, Deadpool totally flipped the script on superhero movies in 2016. While the movie is awesome, it's not without its fair share of mistakes either. In one scene, Ryan Reynolds, as leading man, gets stabbed in the head with a knife. The fact that he was fine is no problem, as Deadpool is basically invincible. But the fact that the knife left no mark or tear in the fabric of his costume is definitely an oversight by the film crew. Jurassic World. The newly released Jurassic World may have divided critics over its quality, but the franchise reboot appears to have been a hit with audiences despite numerous errors and goofs. In one instance, the military team are tracking down an escaped I-Rex. A shot in the control room shows a screen with the soldiers' heart rates. Strangely, all 4 heart rates are the same, and none of them are elevated. We can forgive the special effects unit for using 4 identical heart rates, but we're pretty sure that if you're fighting an I-Rex, your heart rate is going to be going pretty fast. Braveheart. Involving hundreds of extras and no CGI, Braveheart really set a new standard in combat scenes. When audiences watched the Scottish and English armies clash in the film's first massive battle, with so much on-screen action, it was a lot for audiences to take in. Therefore, you could be forgiven if you failed to see the very period-incorrect vehicle visible during the scene where the English cavalry makes its first charge. Rumors are that the white van makes more than one appearance throughout the film. Die Another Day. Die Another Day had many fans cringing and laughing throughout. From Madonna putting in a very robotic cameo to the awfully executed scene where Bond parasurfs on a giant CGI tsunami, this film gets a lot of criticism. In the final fight scene between Jinx and Frost, Jinx, played by Halle Berry, gets slashed across the stomach. Yet, in a scene a little bit later when Bond is pouring diamonds on her stomach, Jinx is miraculously healed without even a scar to show for it. Teen Wolf. This Michael J. Fox classic is probably best known for 2 things. First, it's about a werewolf with insanely good basketball skills. Second, in the closing scene, there's supposedly a shot of an extra exposing themselves to the camera. While we won't get into whether or not the werewolves are any good at basketball, we will say that there is indeed an extra in the bleachers who appears to show a little more than they should to the camera. For the longest time, people thought that this was a man. In actuality, taller shots of the celebration scene show that it is a woman who realizes her fly was down and tries subtly to zip it up amidst the celebration. Inglourious Bastards. You can always count on Quentin Tarantino to provide lots of action and over-the-top violence. Inglourious Bastards introduced many of us to Christoph Waltz for the first time and divided critics over its message. Nonetheless, if you watched carefully, there are a number of mistakes throughout this gore fest. For instance, one of the final scenes sees Brad Pitt carve a swastika into the forehead of Waltz's character, Hans Landa. Landa's hands are shackled, yet during the scene, there is a shot of him clutching the ground with an unchained hand. Django Unchained. Staying on the topic of violent and graphic Quentin Tarantino films, we come to Django Unchained. This stylized spaghetti western received excellent reviews, even if it had some mistakes throughout. Most noticeable were the sunglasses worn by Jamie Foxx throughout the film. While the props were actually a nod to the character played by Charles Bronson in a previous western from the 1970s, given Django Unchained takes place before the Civil War, it is unlikely that Fox would even have these glasses. Sunglasses were not available in the United States for several more decades, making Django shades a noticeable movie mistake. The Avengers. For comic book fans or just anyone who enjoyed the various Marvel superhero films, The Avengers was pretty awesome. With so many great actors and fantastic characters all sharing the screen at once, what wasn't to love? Apparently, even the cast and crew got a little carried away and let some continuity errors slip into the fold. Take, for example, the final climactic battle in the city. During the fight scene involving Captain America and Thor against the Chitauri, Captain America gets shot in the torso. We clearly see the laser shot fried his outfit, leaving a noticeable burn mark. However, later on, Captain America appears with an undamaged outfit. Perhaps he found time to put on a spare suit? Pirates of the Caribbean. Perhaps they should have named this one Cowboys of the Caribbean. In the final scene of The Curse of the Black Pearl, a crewman can clearly be seen on deck. Where, you might ask? When Jack Sparrow says the line, "On deck, you scabrous dogs!" the crew begins to move about. Look just to the left of Sparrow, and for a brief moment, you'll see a pirate wearing a white shirt and a cowboy hat? The Fast and the Furious. The Fast and the Furious really helped to make Paul Walker and Vin Diesel household names, even if the film has a ton of mistakes. With so many to choose from, the worst probably comes during the final quarter-mile race scene. Firstly, viewers must overlook the fact that what should be a 10 to 12 second race ends up lasting a minute and a half. Second, when Vin Diesel's car slams into the side of a transport truck, it doesn't crumple up, but goes into the air as if the flat side of the rig was actually a ramp. Finally, when the car is flipping end over end, you can clearly see a stuntman wearing a helmet behind the wheel.
Alien. In 1979, we learned that in space, no one can hear you scream. In fact, we bet many fans were screaming in their seats thanks to the suspenseful moments in this sci-fi thriller. Nonetheless, Ridley Scott's iconic film, for all its achievements, still has a few flaws throughout. For instance, in the scene where John Hurt is attacked by the facehugger, we see he's wearing a hood underneath his helmet. Yet when the helmet is removed later on, the hood isn't there. A bit of a slip? Or maybe the alien ate it. Castaway. In 2000, we watched as Tom Hanks washed up on a deserted island and survived thanks largely to his own skill and a rather silent volleyball. Yes, while we all loved crying out, "Wilson!" this aspect of the story has a problem. Wilson gets his distinctive face after Hanks cuts himself and picks the ball up, yet we clearly see he grabs Wilson with his fingers spread apart. Therefore, the face on the ball shouldn't have the finger marks so close together, but more spread out to match that action, right? Indiana Jones. Let's stick with the Harrison Ford theme for a minute and head on over to Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. This 1989 film is a classic and much loved by fans. There's not a lot wrong with it, but we managed to find something. In the scene where Jones is looking for clues in a library, he ends up finding a giant X on the ground. In the shot from above, the X is solid and clearly visible. Yet in the following scenes where he's smashing the floor, you can barely make it out. Tangled. We won't get into details about the story of Rapunzel in this 2010 Disney classic, although we can only imagine how long it takes her to wash and condition that hair, but that's beside the point. The little mistake we found here occurs when Eugene climbs the tower and gets caught by Gothel. You'll notice in the following scene that he has chains on his wrists. However, in the scene where he pushes back Rapunzel's hair, the chains disappear before reappearing right before he cuts off her hair. Oops. You know what? It's time for us to give a little shout out to one of our fantastic viewers. Evie Plays says, "I subscribed, your videos are amazing, I love hearing the mistakes of movies before I watch them. Love you." Hey Evie Plays, we love finding mistakes too, but not as much as we love hearing that you love our videos. And we love you too. Mwah. The Bourne Identity. The original Bourne trilogy was pretty good, and it all started off with The Bourne Identity. Amidst all the fast-paced action and nausea-inducing camera work, there is a rather funny slip that occurs near the start of the film. When Bourne comes ashore, there's a scene where he seems to vanish in the street. Well, until you realize he simply ducks behind a little blue truck and runs along beside it. Once you know this, you'll never be able to unsee it. Harry Potter. We don't need to tell you that the Harry Potter franchise is pretty successful. That said, even the magical Harry isn't immune from editing gaffes. Take the dueling scene in the Chamber of Secrets. In it, we see Harry squaring off against Draco Malfoy. After knocking down Draco, the camera switches to a shot that reveals the other students watching, and one extra person. Yep, that is a cameraman sitting there well within the shot. This sort of thing happens more than you know. Or maybe it's a videographer the school hired to record special events. Wonder Woman. One of the most welcome movies to come out recently was Wonder Woman. A much-needed win for the DC movie franchise, Gal Gadot definitely plays the perfect Diana Prince. Yet, did you notice the continuity errors during the scene where she's in the trenches? Look behind Gadot and you'll notice a soldier on a ladder in one shot, and then he's gone in the next. Additionally, when she emerges from the trench to take on the Germans, Gadot's boots are pretty shiny and clean. Shouldn't they be a little muddy after walking through a dirt trench? Jaws. Everyone loves sharks because they are scary and fascinating at the same time. That's probably why 1975's Jaws was and remains such a hit today. Given the technology available at the time, many of the scenes are actually very, very well done. It's what makes this little slip so annoying. We're talking about the scene where all the fishermen head out to find the shark. In the wide shot of the convoy, you can clearly see the camera and other equipment mounted to the front of one of the boats. Thor. Thor's a major figure in the Marvel movie universe, yet even this Norse god appears to have trouble maintaining continuity in a movie. Take the Dark World as a perfect example. When Thor and Loki square off against Curse and the Dark Elves, Thor gets nailed by a huge boulder. We clearly see a large cut above Thor's left eye, yet this cut is as magical as Thor is because it moves around and changes shape in the following scenes. Seriously, first the left eye, then the right eye. This thing is as tricky to keep tabs on as Loki himself. Well, that's all the movie and editing mistakes we have this time. Be sure to check out our other movie-related videos. If you liked this one, give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, and be sure to subscribe to our channel. We're heading out to look for more movie gaffes, so we'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.